Not
Because
my support, it was my actions.
his Doge team did a lot of cancellations very, very quickly, and it fired a lot of people. It wasn't clear to me whether that had your
No,
support or not.
the Doge team didn't do anything. I did it. I was the one that made the decisions. I went through contracts, literally spreadsheets, line by line. I remember being in a hotel, I believe in Guatemala, going through line by line on spreadsheets of contracts that were canceled, contracts that were approved, contracts that were amended. These are all contracts.
So what you just put forward, that it was your action to cancel these contracts. Your contracts in this fashion, freezing fund, firing individuals, has resulted in the death of hundreds of thousands of children.
That's false. That's fake.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to America First, the voice of unapologetic patriotism and real American values. If you're tired of the lies coming from the mainstream media, tired of globalists calling the shots, and tired of career politicians selling out this country piece by piece, then you're in the right place. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that notification bell so you never miss our content. And if you want to help us keep bringing you the truth the media refuses to cover, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/AmericaFirst. For as little as $5 a month, you can help us stay independent, bold, and unfiltered. Now, let's dive into what might be one of the most disgraceful performances from the left we've seen in a while. Senator Jeff Merkley, yes, the same Democrat who constantly prioritizes illegal aliens over law-abiding Americans, just accused Secretary of State Marco Rubio of causing the death of hundreds of thousands of children. Why? Because Rubio dared to make executive decisions that prioritized American interests over endless, unchecked foreign aid. That's the left's new tactic. If you don't funnel billions of taxpayer dollars to overseas programs with zero accountability, they'll call you a murderer.
Senator Merkley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And second chance to ask some questions of you today. Thank you for testifying in multiple committees. Back in March, you noted that you had revoked some 300 student visas using the 1952 Immigration and Nationality Act, which specifically says the Secretary of State can revoke a visa if an alien's activity in the U.S. would have a serious adverse foreign policy consequence. And that issue of 300, what's the number up to now? How many visas have you revoked?
I don't know the latest count, but we probably have more to do.
Can you give us an estimate?
Probably in the thousands at this point, depending. Not all of them are under that statute. Some are people. So there's two visa
SEVIS,
revocations.
I don't want to go into SEVIS. It's a separate issue. And
No, they're related, but we can't conflate them because they're two different. One is the one you've decided, national interest of the United States. Some of the visa revocations are happening because somebody violated the terms of their visa. They dropped out of school or they got convicted of a crime or some criminal investigation.
okay.
Those are separate from what you've said.
So 300 in March, but now 1,000. How many under this 1952 Act?
I'd have to get
Roughly?
you a good answer, but probably under 1,000. But I'd have to get
Can
you
you
the right
follow
answer.
up and
I don't
get
want
us
to
an
speculate about the
answer?
exact number.
And I'll tell you, this particular thing, it does bother me. And you testified in Louisiana Immigration Court in a pretty expansive interpretation of that 52 law, saying that it could be for citizens, it extends to any non-citizen for past, current, or expected beliefs, statements, or association. And that expected really caught my mind. This power rests solely, this 1950 law rests solely with you. And your interpretation sounds like you're saying if you, the Secretary of State, think you expect someone's beliefs or statements, past, current, or future, then you can toss their visa.
The visa is not a right, it's a privilege.
All right, so I will just say, and then I'm going to go on to another topic. I profoundly disagree. The Fifth Amendment is very powerful in protecting citizens and non-citizens alike with due process. I know this will be adjudicated in court, but the idea that one individual could on their opinion of someone's future activity or expected activity, that one individual, being our Secretary of State, can toss somebody's visa, seems to me an extraordinary violation of due process. I won't ask you to defend it now. I'm happy to put it in writing for you to give us a follow-up and explain it better. But I do think it's a fundamental attack on freedom because due process is the guardian of the gate. to keep a government from taking away people's life or liberty, and liberty is what happens when you take away a visa without due process. I want to turn to the issue my colleagues have mentioned, and that is there is a legal way to restructure the Secretary of State's department and USAID specifically. But what we saw on February 3rd was Elon Musk say, over the weekend, I tossed USAID into the wood chipper. That's a pretty profound weekend. It didn't involve consultation with Congress over the consequences. There was no rewriting of the law. There was no discussion of what funds could be delayed, frozen, redirected. And the result is different groups have estimated how many people have died to date and will die over the course of a year or a prolonged period as a result of the destruction of the weekend of February 1st and 2nd. Did Elon Musk have your support in putting USAID into the wood chipper?
Well, I don't think that's a X post, or I guess you're imagining a social media post, is not a government act.
Not at all. That's a quote. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's what he said, but that's not ultimately what happened as acting director. Is all these decisions
Did
have to
his
come to
actions
me.
have your full support
The ones that I signed off on, yes, which is the ones that
of
happened.
what
because
Elon Musk did with USAID?
No, but understand, these are contracts. All these
Did he do it
contracts.
without or with your support? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, not
Because
my support, it was my
team,
actions.
his Doge team did a lot of cancellations very, very quickly, and it fired a lot of people. It wasn't clear to me whether that had your
No,
support or not.
the Doge team didn't do anything. I did it. I was the one that made the decisions. I went through contracts, literally spreadsheets, line by line. I remember being in a hotel, I believe in Guatemala, going through line by line on spreadsheets of contracts that were canceled, contracts that were approved, contracts that were amended. These are all contracts.
So in that case, I'll put the responsibility with you since you're taking credit for it rather than with Elon Musk. But the Boston School of Public Health has a kind of a website where they post their estimated deaths as a result of the actions that were taken to dismantle USAID. And they're updating it continuously. So if you go to it, the numbers keep changing. They have a one-year estimate, but they also have what they estimate has happened to today. And as of today, they estimate that the actions taken in putting USAID in the wood chipper, child malnutrition, 53,500 more deaths. And I'm rounding off because the numbers are continuously changing. Child diarrhea, 45,400 more deaths. Child pneumonia, 59,200 more deaths. Malaria, 25,100 more deaths. So what happened that weekend has resulted in the death of hundreds of thousands of children. And the estimate for the end of this year is much, much higher. This happened because the law was not followed for consultation with Congress, analysis, bringing in experts, holding hearings. How do you kind of accept what you just put forward, that it was your action to cancel these contracts? Your contracts in this fashion, freezing fund, firing individuals, has resulted in the death of hundreds of thousands of children.
That's false. That's fake. That's just not true. That's a study based on if we canceled every one of these programs permanently. Okay, and I'm reading it right here because I'm glad you brought it up. It assumes a near total freeze in U.S. foreign aid for HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and other diseases. There is not a total freeze. 85% of PEPFAR recipients are receiving their care right now. But the numbers you're saying, those aren't real numbers. I understand that's what the school said in the worst case dramatic scenario, and even then I think it's exaggerated. But there's just no evidence of the fact that, I don't remember what the numbers are, 100,000 children have starved to death in the last 4 months because the United States made reductions to USAID. Well, that first of all is pretty atrocious. That would mean that nobody else in the world is doing anything. We're taking care of the entire planet?
Well, I must say, I think your response does not fit with what the published results were, but there's other groups that have done this as well. There's a study in Nature with healthcare experts from a whole number of leading universities, and they said basically if you shut down USAID, and it may not be fully shut down, but my colleagues who follow this closely say, it's 80, 90% shut down. And Nature study, or published in Nature, said, look, because of what has happened, we will see some 15 million additional deaths over 15 years just from HIV, producing 14 million orphans, and another 10 million people children and adults dying from malnutrition, tuberculosis, diarrhea, malaria, and other diseases. And there's even higher numbers from the Friends of the Global Fight Against AIDS. I think it's this rash shutdown without due process of law, that is not coming and doing it in collaboration with rewriting the law, freezing funds, canceling these contracts without consultation, that you have exacted enormous harm on the world.
Again, those numbers you're saying are staggering and unrealistic. The reality of it is, if what you're saying is that unless the United States funds foreign aid at these levels in perpetuity, the world's going to suffer 15 million deaths in 15 years, and every country should be voting for everything we want at the UN.
The number was 15,
because we're basically funding and feeding the world.
15 million in the study of nature, yes, from the shutdown of these programs.
Thank you.
Let's start with the visa revocations. Secretary Rubio explained that under the 1952 Immigration and Nationality Act, he has the authority to revoke visas from non-citizens whose presence poses a serious risk to U.S. foreign policy. That's the law, not some backroom loophole. It's been on the books for decades. And now the left is pretending this is somehow shocking or unconstitutional. Rubio made it clear, visas are not rights. They are privileges. And when we have foreign nationals abusing that privilege, violating the terms of their stay, dropping out of programs, getting arrested, or pushing anti-American propaganda, they should be shown the door. Period. And yet Merkley acts like enforcing that law is somehow a human rights violation. Well, let me tell you something. The real violation is allowing our country to be used as a playground for foreign bad actors because we're too scared to offend the international community. Then Merkley shifts to his real mission, smearing Rubio over the alleged gutting of USAID, the foreign aid agency that has for years operated with almost no oversight. Merkley parrots a quote from Elon Musk, who jokingly said he tossed USAID into the wood chipper. First of all, a sarcastic social media post is not a policy decision. Second, Rubio made it crystal clear. It wasn't Musk's team that made any changes, it was Rubio himself. And not recklessly. He reviewed contracts, line by line, canceling waste, redirecting funds, and reforming a bloated bureaucracy that had become a playground for NGOs more focused on global activism than actually helping people. Now here's where it gets absolutely unhinged. Merkley, reading from some study funded by who knows what university think tank, claims that Rubio's decisions have already caused tens of thousands of deaths, and that over 15 million people will die in the next 15 years because of this. Think about that. He's accusing Rubio of genocide for cutting foreign aid. That's the level of hysteria the left is operating on now. If you reduce a single cent of foreign spending, you're a mass murderer. Rubio, to his credit, calmly and firmly called out these claims as false, exaggerated, and based on fantasy doomsday scenarios. He pointed out that 85% of recipients of HIV treatment under PEPFAR are still receiving care. There was no total freeze in aid. Programs continue to operate. But facts don't matter to people like Merkley. Because this isn't about saving lives. This is about control. This is about making sure no one ever dares to question the corrupt, bloated, global aid complex that has enriched NGOs, fueled cronyism, and turned American taxpayers into a global ATM. Let me ask you, how many Americans are dying from fentanyl that's pouring across our border? How many of our veterans sleep in the streets? How many U.S. citizens can't afford health care or put food on the table? Why is it that the second we try to focus our resources at home, the left accuses us of trying to kill the rest of the world? That's not leadership. That's betrayal. What Merkley did in that hearing wasn't oversight. It was political theater. It was an ambush. He doesn't care about those numbers he was reading off. If he did, he'd be holding China accountable for the virus they unleashed on the world. He'd be calling out the WHO for covering up COVID lies. He'd be demanding an audit of where our foreign aid actually goes and how many dictators, warlords, and corrupt NGOs have pocketed the money. But he's not doing any of that. Instead, he's attacking an American official who's trying to bring accountability to a system that desperately needs it. And let's not forget, this is the same left that wants to defund the police, open the border, and erase national sovereignty. So, of course, they lose their minds when someone like Rubio says, no more blank checks. Let's take care of America first. We are in a time where standing up for your country gets you labeled a villain, where demanding fiscal responsibility makes you a murderer, and where enforcing immigration law makes you a fascist. That's how far the radical left has gone. But we're not backing down. Not now. Not ever. America first means taking care of our citizens before we throw billions to the rest of the world. It means having the courage to say no to globalist guilt trips. And it means refusing to let the far left weaponize compassion as a cover for corruption. So to Senator Merkley and his band of outrage peddlers, save your crocodile tears. We're done funding your foreign escapades while our own people suffer. And to Secretary Rubio, we say thank you. Thank you for having a spine. Thank you for standing up to the mob. And thank you for putting America first when no one else would. If you believe in the truth, if you believe in accountability, if you believe America should come first again, then, like this video, subscribe to America First and share this message far and wide. And if you want to help us continue exposing the hypocrisy of the radical left, please support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month at patreon.com/AmericFirst. We don't answer to corporate sponsors or media overlords. We answer to you, the American people. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Stay strong, stay bold, stay proud, and always remember America first.